At precisely 7:45 on a humid summer evening, I rounded the corner of Maplewood Lane to find HOA Karen's bloated silhouette looming in front of my garage, her pudgy fingers fumbling with a ring of identical violation notices as she barked orders through clenched teeth, demanding immediate access for the association's so-called emergency response unit. Her floral blazer strained at the seams, and the clipboard under her arm threatened to topple under its own weight as she huffed about unannounced safety inspections she had never scheduled. I stared in disbelief, heart pounding, as she rattled the padlock from its hinge, muttering that her authority overrode my right to secure private property. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains, their faces drawn with shock, as Karen pried at the sickle latch and her son, perched on a late-model scooter, live-streamed the spectacle to thousands under the hashtag #KarenEmergencyRaid. I felt a surge of both fury and resolve. This was the breaking point when petty entitlement collided with personal freedom, and I knew I had to hit back with undeniable truth and an unexpected alliance. I retreated inside and grabbed my phone to call the chief of the township fire department, a longtime friend who owed me a favor from our volunteer rescue days. When Chief Harris answered, I barely got 2 words out before he interrupted with measured calm. "Stay back. I'll be there in 5. My pulse stayed rampant as I raced to retrieve decades of maintenance logs, permit records, and a letter of understanding signed by the fire chief himself, granting my garage bay for reserve equipment storage during extreme weather only with my express permission. That letter would prove that Karen's claim of emergency access was not only false but bordered on defamation and trespassing. Within minutes, my inbox pinged with neighborly outrage after I forwarded a scathing email thread documenting Karen's fabricated crisis and my documented permission file. The chorus of support grew so loud the HOA board's own inbox flooded with requests to retract her orders and convene an emergency hearing. As dusk turned to twilight, Chief Harris arrived in his uniformed cruiser with flashing blue lights but no siren, to avoid panic. He stepped onto my driveway and flashed his badge, instructing Karen to step away from the lock. She scowled, brandishing her clipboard as though it were a knight's shield, but he ignored her protests. He announced that he recognized my garage as an official reserve fire outpost, citing both the signed letter and his own authority under municipal code that forbids HOA interference with emergency services. Neighbors emerged, some recording on their phones, as he unlocked the padlock with a master key issued by the fire department. That dramatic twist and enforcer of public safety overruling an HOA tyrant captured every resident's attention and laid bare Karen's overreach. I watched as Karen sputtered, her cheeks flushed crimson, trying to recite bylaws about community safety mandates, until the chief held up a single finger and recited the state statute specifying that no homeowners association may obstruct or inhibit emergency service access. Her voice shrank into a whimper as she realized her violation notices and threats of fines were null and void. Then, as the chief activated the garage's automatic door with his key fob, revealing neatly stacked hoses, a reserve defibrillator unit, and spare SCBA tanks beneath fluorescent lights, Karen's facade crumbled into total silence. The live stream's chat exploded with laughing emojis and comments like, "Karen got roasted," and "emergency access denied," emphasizing the public spectacle of her humiliating defeat. What happened next bonded the community more deeply than any rule ever could. Chief Harris and I invited neighbors to tour the mini-station inside the garage, demonstrating how the equipment would be deployed in storms and medical emergencies. Children gasped at the shiny helmets and hoses, while older couples nodded appreciatively at the state-of-the-art gear. I offered beverages and homemade granola bars as we discussed scheduling volunteer training. Karen drifted to the back, clutching her clipboard and muttering excuses, but no one paid her any heed. Her son's livestream cut to grainy footage of her own stunned expression, a twist that underlined the power of documentation in righting wrongs. Word of our makeshift fire outpost spread swiftly through local news outlets and social media. The township mayor issued a proclamation congratulating our cooperative spirit and commending the volunteer corps for their initiative. Invitations followed from neighboring associations seeking guidance on establishing similar emergency hubs. My garage door remained open for days as Chief Harris organized drills and safety seminars, and the HOA board issued a formal apology for Karen's unauthorized actions, along with new policies guaranteeing notification and consultation before any emergency directive. Under the golden glow of street lamps, neighbors now strolled past my garage bay with pride rather than fear, greeting firefighters as heroes rather than suspects. The storm sirens that once triggered anxiety became reassuring reminders of localized preparedness. And through it all, Karen's mark on the community faded like chalk on asphalt, her demands for power replaced by genuine calls for participation and trust. As the final ember of summer waned, I leaned against the doorframe of my repurposed garage, watching neighbors share laughter and stories under the night sky. Did we do right by turning an assault into an alliance? Or did we risk turning safety into spectacle? I mused. Share your thoughts on what's right and wrong below. The morning after the garage outpost inauguration, Willow Ridge Estates buzzed with renewed purpose. I stepped onto my driveway where Chief Harris's fire engine now rested under the open bay lights, its shiny red paint glinting in the sunrise. Neighbors strolled by, some lingered to ask about volunteer opportunities, and a cluster of curious children gathered near the coiled hoses. I offered each an enamel cup of hot chocolate, and as I cradled mine, I reflected on how one person's entitlement had sparked a community-wide transformation. The HOA board's swift apology laid the groundwork for true partnership. Under our newly ratified policy, any request for emergency access or inspections required 10 days' notice, a majority council vote, and provisions for residents' input. At our first policy meeting held right next to the fire truck, I watched as members of the board and residents discussed logistics for future drills, equipment maintenance, and budget allocations. For the first time, bylaws felt like living documents, tools for cooperation rather than weapons of control. One of the board members, Karen's former lieutenant, Denise Porter, approached me after the meeting. Once a fervent supporter of Karen's heavy-handed policies, Denise now wore the humility of someone who'd witnessed the perils of blind obedience. She confessed how Karen's charisma had convinced her that curt orders served the common good, only for her to realize her loyalty had been misplaced. Denise offered her resignation from the board to allow fresh voices to rise, but I persuaded her to stay and help steer the community away from repeating past mistakes. Her decision to remain signaled that redemption was possible when guided by self-awareness and a genuine desire to serve. To cement our new culture of collaboration, we launched a monthly safety and social evening at the Garage Outpost. The inaugural event featured a barbecue cooked by volunteer firefighters, a tent showcasing first aid demos, and an ambient playlist spun by a local DJ. I watched Chief Harris deftly show a middle schooler how to don a fire-resistant jacket, while neighbors sipped lemonade and swapped stories of past storms when help felt distant. Each smile and handshake reinforced the idea that mutual aid, not unilateral mandates, fortified community resilience. Meanwhile, Karen's presence faded from the conversation, replaced by lively discussions of future improvements. I teamed up with Denise and two neighbors to draft a quarterly newsletter, Estates Essentials, detailing upcoming events, safety tips, and helpline contacts. We distributed the first issue at the local coffee shop, receiving enthusiastic feedback. For the first time, printed bylaws appeared alongside community-curated content. Recipes from neighbors' kitchens, photos from the first volunteer training, and a spotlight on a local author who wrote about neighborhood solidarity. Our newsletter became a tangible symbol of the reimagined HOA, informative yet inclusive, authoritative yet accountable. As summer turned to fall, I received a letter from the state fire marshal's office, inviting me and Chief Harris to present our community partnership model at the upcoming State Emergency Services Conference. I accepted, eager to share how a rogue enforcement attempt had inadvertently catalyzed a replicable blueprint for grassroots emergency infrastructure. Our presentation, entitled From Entitlement to Empowerment, Harnessing Community Potential, garnered standing ovations and follow-up emails from municipalities nationwide. I returned home with fresh ideas, creating standardized emergency access grants for private garages and a digital portal for residents to schedule inspections and drills, reducing the fear of surprise demands. Back home, inspired by the conference insights, I collaborated with a tech-savvy neighbor to develop an online portal for Willow Ridge Estates. The portal featured a calendar for HOA board meetings, emergency drill schedules, volunteer signups, and a transparent log of maintenance requests and resolutions. After launch, user engagement soared. 80% of residents logged in during the first week, providing feedback and forging connections across previously siloed streets. The digital platform reinforced the principle that when information flows freely, trust and accountability follow. Winter's first freeze arrived with a soft hush, frosting mailboxes and glaze-coating tree branches. On a windswept afternoon, I ventured to the garage outpost, now equipped with weatherproof insulation and stockpiled with blankets for potential power outages. A group of teenagers, clad in fire-core sweatshirts, practiced winding hoses and testing emergency lighting. Their enthusiastic chatter echoed against the concrete walls, a stark contrast to the stifled whisperings under Karen's rule just months prior. That evening, a violent winter storm knocked out power across the township. Reports of fallen trees and ice-laden roads spread like wildfire. Yet, as darkness enveloped the estates, the glow from my garage bay's exterior lights guided neighbors to our unofficial shelter. We distributed hot cocoa from a makeshift thermostation, and Chief Harris organized rotational patrols to clear sidewalks and assist stranded motorists. Families huddled under donated blankets, children recited stories around portable lanterns, and the hum of generators mingled with shouts of encouragement. I stood by the doorframe, watching neighbors from both sides of the street work side by side, and felt a profound sense of accomplishment. We had converted a personal breach of trust into a community's beacon of hope. In the storm's aftermath, local news outlets praised Willow Ridge Estates as a model of neighborly solidarity. The mayor herself toured our outpost alongside news reporters, snapping photos with children and firefighters. A televised segment featured my garage bay emblazoned with the new HOA Phoenix rising from the ashes of entitlement. Karen's name was a distant echo, mentioned only in passing, as the narrative focused on collective triumph. When spring returned, the estates unveiled its latest project, a community garden expansion next to the garage, growing herbs and vegetables for distribution at the monthly safety and social evening. Denise organized garden volunteers, while Maya, the schoolteacher, arranged educational tours for local classes to learn about sustainable agriculture and public service. Each seed planted symbolized rebirth off soil, of community, and of trust. At the second anniversary of our fateful confrontation, we held a grand celebration under the pavilion's arches. String lights twinkled above tables laden with dishes showcasing the garden's harvest and the estate's cultural diversity. Chief Harris delivered remarks on the importance of empowering citizens. Denise read a poem about redemption and accountability, and even Karen's son, now a cadet in the Junior Firefighters program, gave a tearful speech about learning the value of responsibility over spectacle. I watched as parents patted his shoulder and neighbors applauded, a testament to the power of second chances. As I looked around at the smiling faces and the bustling community outpost that once nearly sparked a boundary dispute, I realized our journey had transcended the particulars of one garage lease gone wrong. It had revealed a universal truth, that when entitlement is confronted with unity and transparency, communities can transform conflict into collaboration. And though no system is foolproof, our vigilance, our willingness to engage, and our compassion had reshaped what it means to be neighbors. In the glow of the setting sun, I typed one final post on Entitled People Reddit. From eviction notices to volunteer drill shears, how my HOA's emergency raid led to a fire department outpost and a revitalized community. What do you think? Was our response justified, or did we blur the lines between public safety and personal spectacle? Share your insights on right and wrong below. As I hit post, I realized that our story was not just a localized affair, but a beacon for any neighborhood seeking to rise above entitlement and build solidarity through shared purpose. And so, Willow Ridge Estates stood no longer under the shadow of a self-appointed ruler, but shining as a testament to collective action, accountability, and the enduring power of community.